put the aloe on her butt because she need it. Because she want. If you see me looking this way, it's because I am screen recording on my laptop. And because I need somewhere to see myself. I told y'all I'm vain. So I'm going to be. I got my pic too. Mami. Dale suavemente. I shouldn't be repeating what they're saying because I don't know exactly, but I do know that these Honduran YNs, Select a Ghost, MC Izzy, Team TCD. She want the ILO. She want the ILO. I found them through Instagram. I think on the radar. Right after I finished watching Moody's on the radar, I got into this one. Young Honduran men. When I say they connected to dance hall, they're doing their homework. They're not losing recipes. Let me see you whine it. Welcome to FernGulli Fae TV. This is episode 2. And I'm happy to be here. Very, very happy to be here. When I'm done with this, I'll have to do my 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 intro. I really like it. I kind of want to animate it. We'll figure that out later. Word of the day today is conglomerate. CONGLOMERATES, conglomerate, a number of different things or parts that are grouped together to form a whole, but remain distinctive from one another. I like this word because it means that I can represent a whole, but niggas don't know who I am. I will also be making a conglomerate of the West Indies and the Caribbean as I go throughout this video. Please note that I am doing it with the best of intentions, but I am not above correction. So if anything I say that's like, girl, what the fuck is you talking about? Again, we can talk about it in the comments. You can hit me up on any other social platform. Shit, find me on Substack. Find me. Be careful if you find me out in public. I am not unapproachable, but I might have a bit more questions than usual. I might be a bit more defensive than I am, than I might be portraying right now. But you can ask me out in person. Yeah, I ain't nobody. And I say I'm gonna make a conglomerate out of the West Indies and the Caribbean to drive a point home because, well, one, this is the only island related shirt that I have, St. Martin. It has nothing to do with me being in Dominican Republic, but it's the island t-shirt. It serves a purpose. It's gonna do its job. And the book of the day is by a West Indie. CLR James Minty Alley. I watched a short YouTube documentary on CLR James maybe a few years ago where they talked about his life in Trinidad and Tobago, and they talked about his upcoming as a historian, as an activist, as a writer, and things like that. I am not familiar with his most famous book, Black Jacobins. I might not be saying that right. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not familiar with that work. I am familiar with Minty Alley though, and I got familiar with Minty Alley. It mentioned sex work. Y'all know I'm obsessed with all things black, all things sex work, all things. Well, actually, I'm obsessed with a lot of shit. Y'all will learn. This book is amazing though. It goes over something that Fanon talks about, another Antilles man. Fanon is from Saint Martinique, if I'm not mistaken, but Fanon talks about the specific experience or the distinctive experience of island boys and how they have to find a route and how they become an honorable man or just a man in general, and how sometimes that route can be disturbed by white supremacy or just the impression of white men in general. And for island boys, it looks a specific way. He talks about how island boys turning into men separate themselves from their kinfolks by dressing up in the colonizer way to seem more sophisticated. They go on to get heavy degrees and learn these big words and do this, and that, and wear the finest clothes. And then when they come home, they realize, oh shit, I'm way more ostracized than I thought because I've separated myself so far from what I've come from. There's an island boy in Minty Alley, Mr. Haynes, who has made himself up into a sophisticated man, but he finds himself in close corridors with working class people, cheaters, liars, sex workers, kids, single parents, drunks, people who like to fuck a lot, people who have really dirty mouths, things like that. He finds himself renting a room out in a boarding house that is full of all these complex characters. And while Mr. Hayes is trying to separate himself from what is happening, he can't help but get engulfed in it and learn lessons from it and realize he is not too far off from the people around him. I found somebody who was doing audio versions of this book for free via YouTube. And her settings, her voice, her everything just made this story so much more engulfing. I didn't finish. I think I got up with her up until chapter 13. So I want to finish the rest of this book. I'm also reading Sulla right now, and it has me in a chokehold, but I digress. CLR James, Trinidadian man, talks about how Mr. Hayes, a fictional character, also an island boy, becomes one with his community whether he likes it or not. Fanon, another island boy, talks about niggas having to become one with their community whether they like it or not. Also, I wonder how the Honduran dudes, the YNs, the Alo versus Lululemon, the Selectas. I found out that means Selecta means DJing in Jamaican patois, or just in general, it's a Jamaican term for a nigga who know how to put music together. Um, I wonder how the Honduran YNs feel about being in America versus being back home if they ever been back home. I am coming to y'all to talk about my experience in Dominican Republic. I told y'all in my vlog I was going to make sure I had a good time. I was going to learn. I knew that I was going to do tourist things and that I was going to be loud as hell, probably ignorant as hell in some manners, and in general just green as fuck. I'm sure I looked green as fuck out there, which is crazy because back home, niggas know. Again, I'm a part of the whole, but niggas know who I am. But being the first time American out of her home country, yeah, I'm pretty sure I was green as fuck out there. Anyway, while riding the ATVs, we passed a field of collard greens. I'm on the back of the ATV. I asked Chloe to drive some just because I wanted to be nosy, but also I just wanted to sit back and take in what was happening around me. And being on the back of that ATV while we were going through fields and back roads and this, and that was amazing. I was just like, look at all these chickens. But no, that as the land was like crazy. I could have sworn that we passed the field of collard greens multiple times. So I wrote it down and I needed to know if the island gets any type of money off of this type of agriculture or just what's the deal with collard greens in Dominican Republic. I don't think that I can name any dishes with collard greens in it. Is collard greens native to DR? Things like that. Find out that Dominican Republic production of collard greens has increased by 15% in the last 5 years. And while that hasn't really changed the economy that much, it is something to take note of. Maybe it wasn't even collard green fields in the first place. It could be something else, but my brain saw big ass leaves and could only associate it with collard greens because that's what I'm familiar with. Either way, riding through the back roads on the ATVs felt like getting a glimpse of what untouched land looks like and what the everyday people see and feel. And it's crazy because I could see the difference between the tourist areas and the not yet tourist areas because they buying up land like a motherfucker on that island, on that part of the island. I don't know what's happening in Haiti. It was crazy to see untouched land. It was also, I was very honored to see untouched land. When we were riding to and from one of the excursions, we were stationary in front of a cemetery. And it was probably one of the only other Spanish words that I got. And I'm probably about to butcher it right now, but I'm going to say it. Cementerio, 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 cementerio. Help me. Help me. In Spanish, it's Sementerio, Rio, Cementerio, Cementerio. Um, Basically, while we were stationary in front of the cemetery, I paid my respects and I had a moment of silence. I also wrote down, like, all right, how do they handle their funerals here? Like, what's the customs, what's the traditions, what's the ways in which they bury people? And I thought about that because it's an island. Um, on the way leaving, like on the last day heading to the airport to leave, there was really, really bad floods going on. So, do they bury people underground? I wasn't able to find information on that, or maybe I didn't dig deep enough, but I was able to find out that funeral customs depend on if the family is Catholic or not. But nine times out of ten, there are going to be drums, traditional drums involved. Palos music is their traditional drumming, but there are other versions of drumming that are also fitting for these type of ceremonies. Um, a ceremony can last from 9 days to 7 years with specific customs like not listening to certain music or saying a specific prayer and things like that. And they also handle children funerals very specific as well because adolescent burials were seen as special and needing of particular care so that way their soul can rest peacefully. The adolescent burials have shifted though, as the death rates for adolescents have lowered a whole lot. People are making it to be of age and beyond on the island. I will say, when I a lot of this shit came from Reddit. I ain't gonna hold y'all. Um, got to be careful with Reddit because I found myself in some subgroups that was like, oh, I'm getting way off topic. So do your own research on that one as well. I learned a lot about the DOP, Dominican peso, versus the US dollar. And I felt I want to, and I opted out of inserting a clip of me spreading money on my post on Instagram because I felt like that was so, I was not reading the room in that moment, but I was having so much fun having that much access to that much money. Do you not understand? I was having a hard time converting money, even though I knew like I was balling over there because the USD versus DOP is different. There's more, like my dollar over there is worth more. However, my dollar over there is not the only dollar that's worth more. Actually, the euro dollar is worth $10 more than the USD dollar when you convert it into Dominican pesos. I pulled up touristanalytics.com. It's given the Dominican Republic Tourist Analytics of 2026. The total visitors year to date, 2026 of February, stopover visitors by air is in the millions, visitors by seas is in the 700,000s. Um, January and February seems to be like the times to go. A lot of people fly into Santo Domingo and Punta Cana. I am told that Punta Cana is the real tourist attraction. I was in Las Terrenas, which is about 2 hours away from Santo Domingo. Air stopover visitors by country of residency year to date, 2026, February, US is 530,000, up by 30% from last year. Canada is right under. Argentina is next. UK is a few down the list. Italy is a few down the list. Switzerland, non-resident Dominicans. Oh, they visit a lot as well. That makes sense. Another thing that I went over, Quisqueya is the original name of the island that Haiti and Dominican Republic share. This land, Quisqueya, um, it translates to the mother of all lands, and it was first tended to and cared for by the Tainos. Also, correct me if I'm wrong if it doesn't translate to mother of all lands, because I don't trust Google Translate either. When I was on that trip, Google Translate gave me the words, but the locals would look at me and be like, girl, you could have said that simpler. I will say, knowing that Quisqueya means mother of all lands reminds me about the Uber driver that I had sometime last year that referred to Africa as the fatherland. And that is when I realized there are levels to the hotepery that I had not encountered yet. Once I got back home, I made beans, rice, potatoes, tomatoes, greens. No, I made beans and rice, frijoles y arroz, frijoles y arroz y pollo. And I had like avocado and mango and this and that. I tried to recreate some shit that I had back there. And while it wasn't the same, it did still fulfill like, I've been introduced to something new. I want to try something new. Um, so while making all that, I also just went to go look up like, okay, what's up with Santo Domingo? What's going on there? We flew out of there, we flew into there. I really only touched that land for a few moments, but I'll tell you one thing, soon as I hit the ground, I was like, oh, these niggas look just like me. I love it here. So I found out that Santo Domingo was the home of the first black people in the Americas. People from Senegal and Gambia, were brought here under enslavement terms and conditions. Look up sugar plantations. I go on and on and on and on and on about chattel slavery, but through learning more about Santo Domingo, I am learning that other forms of slavery took place that introduced black people to the Americas as a whole that were egregious, brutal, worrisome. Sugar plantations. The people of Senegal and Gambia were brought here under Christopher Columbus, who came here to perform genocide and eradicate the Tainos while also abusing black labor. I'm not saying that there weren't free black folks who explored the Americas prior to Christopher Columbus, this form of slavery, chattel slavery, and so forth. I'm just saying how I learned how black people were introduced to them, how a good number of black people were introduced to the Americas. We also know that US colonies would go on and do a rinse and repeat of Christopher Columbus methods of genocide and eradication, by implementing that onto the North American natives, as well as abusing the labor of other black people stolen from West Africa and surrounding areas. It's crazy because this is actually where I was hit with the realization of not referring to America as just North America, but the Americas, because I want to get out of the habit of centering the nation that I'm familiar with while also doing the work to broaden my global awareness. This referencing the Americas and not just North America will allow me the space to acknowledge the full scope of harm done onto millions of Africans who were stolen from their home. It's important for me to do this and pay attention to the full scope of the harm done because Britain and US colonies really realize how indispensable. We're going to look up indispensable. Indispensable is absolutely necessary. It has to happen, or else uh, uh, something being indispensable to the plan or the outcome means that the outcome won't outcome. Exactly. Britain and US colonies realized how indispensable black labor was and still is in building up the Americas. Dominican Republic is the second nation to abolish slavery right after Haiti. The article that I read about Santo Domingo also talks about how their first hospital was modeled and named after a black lady who was basically the first doctor in that fucking city. The University of Santo Domingo has a Maroon Awareness Tour. October 30th is Santo Domingo's African Heritage Day, which is cool because October in North America, in the United States, is Hoodoo Heritage Month, and October 1st is Nigerians' Independence Day. It's cool that the diaspora is just taking over October. What else we got going on in October? Let me know. I had an amazing time in DR. I am still learning about other islands. I am still learning about the world outside of the few states that I have been to. I'm still learning about the world outside these four walls. So stick with me. Thank you for tuning in to the second episode of FernGulli Fae TV. I am Carmen, your host. Did I tell y'all? Okay, third video. I'm Carmen, your host. I'm not signing out just yet. Um, third video Third vlog, third video will probably be my last because I want to come back with my last for the season. I want to come back with some things, with some new things, with some new improvements and yada, yada, yada. And I want to give myself a break. A nigga turned 30 in May. So Can I be 30 in peace? Can I understand what it means to be on this earth for 30 years? I ain't never did that shit before. I wonder what I wonder what 30 like. I've made it through my 20s. Very, very happy to do so. But yeah. Anyway, y'all hear my my charger. Y'all hear my speaker being a hater. I really love the hair. I really love the shirt. Very, very thankful to be here. Very, very happy that I made it to another episode. Very, 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 very proud of myself. I've probably been killing y'all with the peas, huh? Peter Pe- Peter Pepper picked a Anyway, I ain't even gonna do it to y'all. Y'all stay tuned. Go look at my old videos. Go interact with my Substack. Go follow me on Instagram. Find me on Threads. I feel like an auntie on Threads. I'm trying to figure it out. I am not on Twitter. I don't do Twitter anymore. I gave up Twitter after 10 years. I think I'm about to give up. I think I'm about to give up some of my other accesses to other social sites because I made a promise to myself at 15 that I was going to be off the internet by 30. And while I don't think I'm going to be completely off the internet, I do think I need to reevaluate my relationship with the internet to honor 15-year-old Carmen because she probably was hitting on something, and just to rebrand, recuperate. But do you get why I said I made a conglomerate out of the West Indies and the Caribbeans? Yeah, I rest my case.